Welcome to the Ethereal Advisors Podcast, Mike. Welcome on the show.
Yeah, man, I can't believe you invited me. I mean, we just met last week, right? So here we are, right? So live from San Antonio, it's Cashflow Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with that, can you introduce yourself for our audience who are mostly accounting firms and CPAs? What do
Yeah,
you
sure.
do? Yeah.
My name is Mike Milan, Milan, and my friends call me Cashflow Mike. Why? Well, that's about all I talk about, right? Is cash flow. But my background is pretty unique.
Okay.
I've built 14 companies, and somehow during that time, I became known as a small business banking expert, right? So, uh, one of those things. So, but I've built everything from a hotel staffing company to software companies to now I have a coaching company for accountants, bookkeepers, advisors on doing advisory services. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm an MBA out of Baylor. What's unique, I'll tell you, is that my first job, I was a state trooper. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so now I tell people, I said, you're learning math and how to talk to people from a state trooper. So, it always surprises
So,
them.
and how did the idea of cash flow advisory came, and how did the name came, Cash Flow Mike?
Yeah, so, okay, so the way it came about was that my first business, right, the hotel staffing company, I learned all about cash flow. Why? Because I was working with companies like Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt, just providing them staff, and they would pay within, 50 to 90 days, right, which is a long time
Yeah.
when I have to make payroll every single 2 weeks, right? So it's like I'm constantly waiting for money.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I ran into a problem like most people do when they first start out in their business. I didn't understand timing, right? I thought I was successful because on paper I'd made a bunch of money. You know the difference between cash accounting and accrual accounting. I spell accrual different. I spell it Acruel because it's cruel. It makes you think you have money and you don't.
100%.
But basically what happened is that I went into savings. I went into I maxed out credit cards. I did everything I could to make it happen. And then once I figured out the timing of, if I can get them to pay a little faster, then that eases it up. And I learned the concept from a banker called the financial gap.
Okay.
And the thing about the financial gap is that the difference between money coming in versus money coming out, right? And you have to have enough working capital or just money that you have available or access to funds to cover the financial gap. That's how much money a company needs. So everybody kind of knows how much they have. Not a lot of people can calculate how much they need. That's why it always feels clunky. Like, I'm always waiting for money to come in before I can do something else. Well, that's what I've grown to solve, right? So I've built software products about it. In our first software company, you asked about the nickname, how I got that. We built banking software for banks to use with small business owners. And in order to get trust, credibility, authority with the banks, I started providing free training to bankers on how to talk to me, the business owner.
Okay.
Right? And all of a sudden that caught on. I don't know how it caught on, but it caught on. And I was invited to come speak at the University of Washington at the Graduate School of Banking there, the Pacific Coast Banking School. And from there, I was invited to be on the faculty at LSU, Louisiana State University, at the Graduate School of Banking. And now I'm on the faculty at the University of Colorado there in Boulder at the Graduate School of Banking. So what happened when I'm teaching, they go, man, you never talk about profit. You only talk about cash flow. And I was walking down the hall and one of the students go, hey, there goes Cash Flow Mike. And I'm like going, damn, that's pretty good. That's better than any name I can get. I mean, so I just started doing it. And the hardest part of being called Cash Flow Mike is the embarrassment of calling yourself Cash Flow Mike in the beginning, right? But now it works.
Yeah. Okay. And coming to the core work, like what does cash flow Mike do every day? How does your day look like?
Yeah, all right. So I've built a program called the Clear Path to Cash, right? And the Clear
Okay.
Path to Cash is like 8 different concepts to maximize cash in a business. So I've got video courses. I do live group coaching every day, right? 1 hour office hours. People come in and say, hey, I've got this client I'm working with. Can you help me? And I just help people every single day. I give them the training. I give them the live coaching. Plus, I have an app that does all my calculations and analysis for you. So, I mean, that combination, what I do is I just help accountants move from being transactional to advisory.
Okay, and who are your clients majorly? What areas do they work in? Are they bankers, accountants, or outside of the, do business owners also come directly to you?
Yeah, I've got kind of three core groups. The one I
Okay,
work with every day, my ideal customer is an accountant, is a bookkeeper, is a fractional CFO, that type of group who wants to add advisory or who's already doing advisory and wants a better program.
okay,
Right.
yeah,
So that's my ideal customer. But I do sell to banks some seminars so they can train business owners, and I do work with some nonprofits like the Minority Business Development Centers, the SBDCs, those type of folks as well.
okay. So many accounting firms, right, do not, they only stick to either bookkeeping or tax advisory, tax part, but they don't go into advisory part, and especially the cash flow advisory part, right? So how do you think it can help their clients? So what are the things that accountants should think of if they want to sell cash flow advisory service?
You know what's interesting about that is that most people, first of all, they're being pushed into it.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, you're being
yeah,
forced into it, and this isn't something that happened this year. This is something that's been happening for 10 years. When software companies started to automate regular routine stuff, and they say, "Hey, this can make your life easier. You can do reconciliations faster. You can do entries faster." Well, when that happened, it commoditized bookkeeping and accounting, which made it, meaning that I'm just going to get that from the cheapest person. So
yeah,
accountants and advisors are saying, hey, what do I do next? How do I provide value? How do I stay relevant in the business owner's life? And I go back to when I had a CPA, our biggest fight was he would do all this math, show me all the great things that I was doing and not doing, right? And then I would say, oh, what do I do next? He goes, well, you have to fix it. I'm like going, how do I fix it?
yeah,
He had no answer, right? And that's when it hit me that accountants, bookkeepers can provide that. They're in the perfect position to provide advisory services, but there's two things that hold them back. One, they don't know how to do it, right? There's not a program out there that says this is what you do and how you do it step by step or otherwise. The second, and that gives them a lack of confidence. The second thing is that lack of confidence, which is I'm scared because I've never looked forward with a business. I mean, we kind of do. We do some forecasting and all that, but you can remember accounting is about history. I want to make the most accurate account of history, and I want to tell the best story of what happened. Advisory is the other side of it, which is I want to be not the historian of the company. I want to be the GPS of the company. Where are we going?
yeah. So what areas does cash flow advisory include? So what are the aspects when let's say when accountants provide the services? So what are the aspects on which they can provide advisory? Whether it's related to receivables, payable, like in general financials, or does it go beyond that?
Everybody thinks of like cash flow type advisor as being, oh, I can forecast, right?
Yeah,
That's where everybody goes first. Oh, we have to do a forecast.
yeah,
Well, when I look at forecasting, first of all, I look at it as 5 steps. Most people only look at it as one, right? I look at it as 5 steps. I mean, I do, uh, not only do I do the pro forma income statement, which just tells me if I have a good business plan or not. Can I make money if I sell at this price? Those type of things. The second part is the cash budget, right? The third part is forecasting the balance sheet. Do I even have enough money to do what I think I'm going to do? And the fourth one is like, can I create a sustainable growth rate? Because most people guess. And I actually have formulas that I give people that saying, if you want debt, if you want no debt, if you want just a little bit of debt, here's how much you can grow. The last part, the fifth thing, is transferable value. Can I actually transfer money out of my company this year to me, not my salary, transferring value every single year or every single month to you? So forecasting is a big part of it. But here's the problem with forecasting, right? That forecasting is just like, well, let me ask you, when you cross the street, what do you do?
I
When you
look
cross the street?
both the side, and
Yeah,
then
why do you look
yeah,
both ways? Yeah, why do you
just to
look
see
both ways?
that there's no vehicle coming.
Yeah, that's what forecasting is. It's like looking down the street and see if a bus is coming. Am I going to have a cash flow problem? And how far away is the cash flow problem? What forecasting doesn't do, that the other techniques that I teach do, is how do I get the bus to stop? How do I get it to turn? How do I, what are my options to get across the street, right? Can I run? Can I walk? Can I TikTok in the middle of it? What do I do next? That's what I teach, is all the things around forecasting to make it an action plan.
Interesting. You also talked about the system, right, that can help you find hidden cash in 15 minutes. What is that? I'm very curious to know about that.
Yeah. So, and this is how I actually thought about it from my own point of view. It's called mining your business for hidden cash, right? And think about mining is what's below the surface. And what I did was I combined 6 different calculations and put them on one map that I call the cash leak map, right? And the 6 calculations, there's 3 of them that are cash generating activities. So how does money come into the business and go through it, right? How much do I spend and what's left over? So think about it. It's just sales, gross profit, operating expense. That's cash generating activities. And that's kind of vertical analysis. The other part is how long does it take for this to happen, right? So it's horizontal analysis. So I look at the company 2 different ways at once. And that's how long inventory sits on the shelf. How long does it take me to get paid? How long does it take me to pay? You have to look at all those together, because if you look at them in silos, you might be focused on the wrong one. This cash leak map that I help you build for every client, and the app does it automatically. And 15 minutes is probably too long now. I can do it in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however long it takes me to type in 9 numbers. But basically, what you're doing is looking for 2 different things. What should I be, right? If I'm saying this is what my performance is, what should it be? And then the second part I look at is what could it be, right? So what's the minimum that I should be doing, and what's the could be that I want to be doing? What's my goal? And I compare that and then convert it to what I call a financial impact. Because I'm not as good as I should be, or because I'm not as good as I could be, this is how much money's on the table. Where do I fix it? Where's the biggest cash leaking out at? What of the 6 ones has the biggest impact?
Okay. And how did you create all the system which people are not aware of? How did you do it? How did you come up with these interesting concepts?
I lived a hard life. 14 companies. I do have formal education, right? I do have an MBA. I have built software for banks. I understand what banks are looking for. And, all of them say, I'm a cash flow lender, right? And what they're saying is they want a healthy company. They want to lend money to people that are healthy. Well, if you take that and reverse engineer it, the question becomes, how can I be a healthy company, right? And it isn't about getting a loan. I mean, part of it is, but it's about how do I make this company better? So I started gathering all the things that made me not healthy. And I diagrammed them into this cause and effect chart. And most people will say you need to be working on your business instead of in your business. Have you heard that? You probably heard that, right? Nobody explains what that means. I built a chart that shows you what that means, right? So it's all the things that we do on a daily basis, those thousands of things that we do working in the business. We don't take a step back to go, oh, this is what it looks like on the business, right? So what did I build? When I did that task, what happened? And the reason I built this cause and effect chart was to show people what's going to happen next. Right? So think about that. We said one of the problems is we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do because we don't know what's going to happen. Well, what I've done is diagram that in like a cause and effect chart. When you see this, be prepared because this is going to happen next. Right? So, from low net profit, begets negative operating cash flow. Then that creates a need for borrowing. And then that creates higher interest expense and maybe mismatched financing. And that all leads back to, low net income. So it's a circular, interconnected business system that happens, and we don't look at it that way. We look at it as individual pieces. It's like looking at your body, and I only look at the arm, right? And the pain's over on my side. Why am I looking at the arm? The pain's over here, right? So that's what I help people do, is find the pain in the right spot.
Coming to the accountant's point, right? So when they sell the services to their clients, so how can they sell the services? What are the objections that would come from the client side and how can they handle it, and how they can close at least these cash flow advisory services to the client.
Yeah, so I'm plug my new book, Don't Tell Me What to Do, because
Uh,
I use this as a way to sell as well. It's not only the way I talk to people, and the book, and I'll show it again. Sorry, I'm plugging it, but
yeah, you guys show it. Yeah.
the book in and of itself, Don't Tell Me What to Do, is a combination of techniques I learned as a state trooper and watching Hoarders. You ever seen that show?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and you're like going, well, how did you do that? Well, read the book. But one of those things where people don't like to be told what to do, but they're willing to commit to action. And that's your whole goal. When you're selling, when you're advising, it's the same conversation.
Yeah.
I need you to be committed to take an action, not be compliant or pushed into something because I told you to. So I don't do any heavy sales tactics. What I teach is let's find the pain, right? And one of the first things I always do is clear the noise. Like I'll start a conversation, well, with you. I'd say, hey, what's going on in your world? What's happening? And sometimes people have things in their brain when we come to a meeting. There's something there that they're distracted by.
Yeah, yeah,
And I let you unload it, right? Just let you get it off your chest. I take it on, but I'm looking for a burning issue. If it's a sales call, I'm looking for the one thing that's hurting you in your life. And when you tell it to me, I'll show you how to solve it. That's how I sell. So if you were to tell me, hey, I just don't know if I'm going to make payroll in 2 weeks. All right. Hey, sounds like you might have a cash flow problem, right? So we found a burning issue. Hey, I got this technique, and this is me selling. I got this technique I call mining your business for hidden cash. It takes about 8 minutes or so. You want to go through it and just see if there's something I can do for you right now? And I'll go through this and I'll say, hey, look, we just found $300,000 in your efficiency, right? In the way you're operating. I can help you put $300,000 in your pocket in 4 moves, right? I'll count them up on the chart. There's 4 things I can do that's going to put $300,000 or $400,000 in your pocket in the next 6 to 12 months. Do you want my help? That's my sale. Yeah, but they'll say, well, yeah, I want your help. I say, well, what do you think we should do next? And they'll usually go, well, how much does it cost? And I'll say, I don't know. You insert your own number, but I'll say $2,500 a month. Would you trade $2,500 for the chance to get $400,000?
Everyone would say yes. Yeah.
Everyone says yes.
Yeah.
It's about a 90+% close rate when I show them the technique first. So it goes from finding the right problem, showing them that you can solve it. And the big thing there is I want to show you the what and the why, not the how. You have to pay for the how, right? That's what they're paying for from you. You're just saying, hey, here's what's happening. Here's why it's happening. I can solve it. Would you like my help? When you do that, you put people in the position that says, yeah, that's what I need help with. I need your help because you're the only person that's ever showed me the problem and said they could fix it.
Interesting. And how can they price the services, whether that should be based on the business owners or the problem statement that they are solving, value-based pricing? There's so many right pricing strategies, right? So how can they do this in this?
Yeah, so I mean, all pricing, even value-based pricing, starts off with a minimum floor. Do not go below, right? Even value.
Yeah.
So I don't go below this. And that's what I say it is a combination of 3 things. I have to have my cost covered, right? So you take your cost, whatever it takes you to run your business. And you also have to have some profit, some money to keep in the business, to keep growing and put back into the business. So some profit. The third thing I add is transferable value, which is I want to also take money out for me. So I'm going to keep some in the company, but I'm going to take some for me to fund my retirement or whatever it is I want to do next. That's transferable value. So those 3 things become the minimum cost. I have to get at least this year. The other thing you do is say, well, how many productive hours can I get?
Okay.
A full-time employment is 2,080 hours. So you at the minimum, you should say, if I could generate revenue every hour, which we can't, right? Because we got vacation, because we got paid time off, because we got training, we got other things we have to do. So I'll usually take 1,800 hours. So I'll take that total number, divide it by 1,800 hours, and say that's the minimum I should charge for an hour's worth of my work. Now what I say is I'm going to work with somebody at least an hour a month. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. I got this spreadsheet that tells you exactly how many hours per month that you'll work based on the services you're providing. And it will come up with your minimum. Remember, that's the only reason I'm using this is do not go below this number. Over that, I'm going to let the market decide. If I say it's $2,500 a month, maybe that's what it's been, and I've had other people buy it, and that's the one they're saying. If everybody's buying it at $2,500 a month, I should be charging $3,000 or $4,000, right? Because I only want about 60% of the people to buy. That's how you know you're kind of right in the market of it's the right value. So with value pricing, you got to kind of test it at different price levels. And it's okay to get some no's. You actually want some no's because that helps validate your value.
100% right. It's more about understanding your audience also, so you can position it well and price it well. So having numbers about it, because accountants already have their numbers. What are the profit margins and revenues and all. So maybe they can price it better, maybe structure it in a tier system so that initially they get to know the value of them right first, and then maybe they can price higher. I don't know whether this strategy would work here or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know where to start, just look at the industry average for gross profit. If everybody else is making 40%, then you should too. If it costs you $100, that's your cost of goods sold, we'll say, and then you should be making 40% over the top of it. So the inverse of that is 60. So I would take the $100 and divide it by 0.6 to come up with my price.
Okay. Also, like the services that you sell, right? One of them is like clear path to cash framework. Like, so can you give a high level overview of what is it?
Yeah, I sell memberships, right? So, and there's different levels of service depending on your membership. It starts off with maybe a group meeting a week plus the app. That's the lowest level, right? So you want the app, right? That's what I've noticed is that everybody wants the app. They don't want to be in spreadsheets doing this stuff. They want the app because it's easier. So the minimum level is, do you want the price? Do you want me to say the price, what it is today? So, but yeah, it's 169 for the minimum, right?
Okay.
That's the basic level. You get 4 hours of training per month, plus you get the app. Now, here's the thing with the app. When I used to sell software, I would charge by the company or by the user. You've seen that, right? You're like going, hey, every user is $15. I hated it because then I have to make a decision. Oh man, are you worth $15? Are you worth $9? This is all inclusive. I don't care if you got 100 clients. I don't care if you got 10 people on your team. Doesn't matter to me. You get to use the app because I want you to use it with sales prospects to close business, as well as your clients to actually do your job, right? Fulfill a dream. Up from there, I've got the next one is the standard package, and you get the video courses, you get more live training and the app. On the highest level, the professional version, you can earn CPE, 27 hours just for going through this course, right? So 27 hours of CPE, you can get the Clear Path to Cash Professional certification, which is we're accredited through APMG International. So I have a third party actually accredited my course. You go through there, you get a digital badge from APMG for this, and it's the CPCP, right? So you CPA, CE, so you get more alphabet, but CPCP is Clear Path to Cash Professional, and you get a nice trophy, it's a nice glass trophy that comes with it for you to show in your office. So those are the 3 levels, plus you get some one-on-one work at the professional level as well. So if you want help on your company or a client's company, it doesn't matter to me. How do you want to spend your time? I spend it doing it what you think is most valuable. So those are the 3 levels. So the highest level is $299 a month. Come and go if you want. But so I mean, but that seems to be the value price for what I'm doing. Of around 169 to 299.
Okay, got it. Let's say all the accounting firms, right? So let's say they have been doing bookkeeping and tax preparation, let's say for last a decade, right? So
Yeah.
when it comes to cash flow advisory, they may not be equipped with providing a right advisory because they may not be trained well, right? They may
Right.
not figure out the client's problem easily, right? So your platform becomes one way for them to figure out everything holistically. But along with your course, is there something, some resources, anything that they can go through so that they are better equipped when they sell the services to the client?
Yeah, so you're asking for things that are not in my course. What other things are available? Is that?
No, no.
Oh,
Let's say
okay.
your course cover everything. Like it's a video
Oh,
content.
yeah, I
So
got it.
yeah, yeah. So let's say some books. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the way the course is set up, right? It's you can pretty much go through a lesson a week. It takes about an hour a week of your time, and you can go through the entire course in about 12 weeks. 12 weeks, we'll say 3 months, something like that.
Okay.
The other resources that I have outside of a huge workbook that goes step by step through every single thing that I teach in the course, you get access to 3 digital copies of these books, right? So
Okay.
uh, one of them was the first one I wrote. This is the clear path to
Good
cash. It's
business.
called "Don't Be a Dumb Business
Dumb
Owner."
business owner.
And dumb doesn't mean
Interesting.
unintelligent. It means I don't
Yeah.
understand my business, right? So, and it helps people understand their business. So that's the first one. The second one is the 7 minute conversation. You can get this for free right now, not buy anything. Just go to my website. Right underneath the header video, it says download this book for free. You can learn how to analyze financial statements in 7 minutes or less
Oh,
using this book.
interesting. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so that's another thing. And then the last one, of course, is how to have the conversation. So, and this was something I just wrote this last year because I was teaching accountants, bookkeepers, CPAs the math, how to do this. And they go, wait a second. And we would role play it, right? To find the issue and solve it. And they go, that, we need to know how to do what you're doing there. And I'm like going, what? They said, talking to people. There was a disconnect.
Yeah.
They know the math, but they couldn't get people to take action or didn't know how to talk to people about it.
100%.
So I wrote this book and now I teach and I built this interactive training tool that's like having a role play with an AI component that I'm going to ask this question. You select a question, the AI asks the question, then you say, here's a random response. You select A, B, or C, and you get a random response from an AI character that helps you learn the techniques and what went right and what went wrong in the conversation. And did I identify it right? Did I follow the right steps? It's an AI training tool that I think has just changed the way that accountants are talking to people.
Interesting. You mentioned AI, right? What do you think your services or in general cash flow advisory services, is it going to be hampered as the AI progress? Because I'm seeing that data analysis rules are being reduced because tools are able to analyze by itself because when you provide them a dump of data, they are able to give their analysis. What do you think, how it is going to affect it? And how, in general, how do you see this industry growing in the next decade?
I, personally, I have a shirt that I gave away at a conference well, it was last year, like in Atlanta, and it
Okay.
says AI does not equal the sign me, M-E.
Okay.
It doesn't have
Yeah,
my
it doesn't.
passion. It doesn't have my instinct. It doesn't know what's going on around. It only knows what I tell it to do. So AI, I think right now, at least, and probably for the foreseeable future, it's just a tool. It's there to help you. People don't pay for the tools. You got to realize that. It doesn't matter what software
Yeah,
it
yeah.
costs, doesn't matter what AI is. People pay for you and your ability to use the tools to help them. So if you look at it that way, AI is not going to replace the accountant, the bookkeeper, and advisory. What it will do, though, is the people that will replace you are the ones that can use AI. AI is not going to replace you, but somebody that can use it will.
Yeah, 100%. And how do you see this industry growing in the next decade? Because not everyone is providing the services. So many people will enter the market. So how do you see in the next decade?
Well, I mean, if you just look at the environment of what's happening, politically, right? And I don't like to
Yeah,
be political at all, but if there is a simplification of tax, then what are you going to do, right? Your value to the client is to be an advisor, right? So I mean,
100%.
one way or the other, if either tax becomes simpler where everybody can just do their own or not do it at all, you're still going to have to do advisory services. So if you learn it now, you're already going to be ahead of the game when other people have to do it, right? You're already going to be the expert. You're already going to have the reputation of that being that type of advisor. You're already going to have, the revenue coming in from already a recurring revenue stream of people that just hire you on a monthly basis just to talk to you. that's where I think the earlier you get in, the farther ahead you're going to be when everybody else has to.
Yeah. So recently, Donald Trump got elected, right? So after his advent, what do you think? How business environment is going to affect in the US? If you see the overall landscape related to the business, how it's going to be after the Trump has been elected?
Well, all right. So, and I'm not a fan either way, right? So, but I can say that the idea of what he's doing is to drive more business back into the U.S., right? That's the
Yeah,
idea.
100%.
I mean, I can understand the idea because I just listened to a toy manufacturer the other day. He says, here's the thing. We're actually ramping up production, manufacturing of toys. We're just talking about children's toys. Why? Because what's happening with tariffs now is making the imported goods about the same price. Right? I mean, it's about the same price as what the
Yeah.
U.S. can make it for, manufacture it for. So, in some ways, it's leveling the playing field. In other ways, it may hurt some companies that have to, take price increases like steel, like lumber, like things like that. I mean, so if you're importing goods to manufacture something yourself, you may have to look for alternate vendors. But I think when people start to ramp up, like U.S. manufacturing right now is ramping up, meaning putting more stock on their shelves, guess what that does to prices, right? If we're just an economist, more stock on the shelf means
Most of it.
prices
Yeah,
will
yeah.
come down. Yeah, because I have to move the stock. So I think that in theory, if you think of economic theory, it could work. Now, is it going to be painful? Yeah,
Yeah,
painful for
yeah,
all of us, right? So, but they're already, if you just look and watch what the larger companies are doing, that's a good model for you to follow if you're a small company. Like going, they're already preparing for this. They're already preparing for an influx. They're already preparing for price hikes. So what is it in your business or your client's business that you can do to help them prepare for what might happen? I know it's a weird thing, but that's what you're going to have to do. And the best way to do that is come up with 3 scenarios, right? Best case scenario, this happens. Worst case scenario, this happens. And what's most likely? And just put it out. Don't implement it. Just store it and think through the problem, because when you see something starting to happen in real life, you already have the plan built on what you're going to do next. It's like a trigger.
Let's say if an accounting firm wants to start providing these services, they have. So your course does include cash flow, how to do cash flow advisory, or does it also include how to sell the services?
Yeah, and all right. So I got 3 different courses inside my membership, right? One is the Clear Path to Cash, which is just teaching you the math and the concepts, right?
Okay.
Which
Math.
actually helps you describe it. The second one is this thing called Pathfinder. Pathfinder is about building your package, marketing, selling, and executing, right? So it's taking the math and using it to actually help you sell your services, right? Just like I gave you the example where we say, hey, you have a cash flow problem. Let me find the hidden cash. And do you want my help? The other thing about marketing these services is I think people are going to go out there and say, you can get cash flow advisory services for $1,000 a month. And that's what they market. Nobody cares what that is because they don't have the pain point yet. And I have a personal belief that everybody has 3 reasons right off the bat before they talk to you of why they're not going to buy from you, right? We love to buy, but we hate to be sold because we tell ourselves 3 things. The first thing we tell ourselves, and it's a false belief, is that it won't work, right? It's a framework problem, a product problem. Oh, I've tried advisors before. I've tried coaches before. I've tried, that before. They never work, right? These programs, Clear Path to Cash, that doesn't work. So before they even say hi to me, right? Before they even,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're already telling themselves that coaches are just BS. Well, if what I do is I start to market to that belief. If you're the type of person that thinks that coaches are BS, and I tell a story, right? A story of when I thought that. I thought it too, and here's what happened. I was struggling and this, and I thought he was BS, and I'd been scammed in the past. And I tell a success story of when I actually took somebody's help and it worked. Why do I do that? Not to get you to buy, to get you to go, oh, well, maybe I should look at this, right? It's not to buy. You have to move them in little steps to begin with. So the first thing is to get you to think that coaches are okay. The second thing we tell each other or tell ourselves is something internally. Yeah, the program probably works, but I don't think I could do it. I can't talk the way Mike does. I can't do the math the way he does. I don't know if I can do it, right? That's an internal belief. And what do? I market to that. I write a blog article or a social post that says, hey, if you've ever thought that you can't do this, I'm a former state trooper. The only way I knew math was on a speed gun. Or something like that. And then I tell a story about how actually the math works for me in this situation. I tell a story about how the math worked for me. And they go, oh, well, maybe I can do that. If that dumb state trooper can do this, maybe I can do it. So the third thing we tell ourselves is there's something in our environment that would make me not successful. Like, yeah, the program would work. I can do it, but my customers won't buy it. I got terrible customers, right? So it's a third party. They got an external belief. And then I say, hey, I used to think that my customers wouldn't buy it. I used to think that there's no way they're going to buy this program that helps them put hidden cash in your pocket. And I tell the story, right? It's everything I teach you is how to tell the story, and every story has a pattern to it. It's situation, it's task, it's action, it's result, and purpose, right? If you look at any of the stories you've ever seen me write or say on stage, they all have the same cadence, the same pattern, because if you don't get to the problem fast, people lose interest, right? So I teach you how to tell that story in different links, because more details, sometimes you need to have more details to convince somebody, right? So it's about how to tell the story. You already have the knowledge, you already have the experience. Can I package it to where you want to know more from me?
Interesting. Let's say if they started selling the services, what are the three steps that they should follow so that they can become successful in this advisory service and they can get enough clients? They have just started.
Yeah, if you just started, I mean, think about what happened when you wanted to drive a car. First of all, you had to have an interest. I think I want to learn how to drive a car, right? That's where you have to start. Do I want to provide advisory services? If you're not the type of person who wants to do advisory services, then don't waste your time. Go figure out something else.
Yeah.
All right, so the second thing is, again, like the driver's license, you have to get the knowledge. You have to learn to drive. You got to take some courses. You got to open a book. You got to go sit in a car and drive it for so many hours with an adult next to you. That's all my course does, is it puts an adult next to you while you're learning these things, so that when you're ready to go out there and face traffic by yourself, you're prepared, right? You're better prepared than just jumping in a car and trying to learn it on your own. So my course holds your hand until you're ready to fly. And then lastly, of course, is the role plays, the interactions, doing it. You have to go out there. As well as I do, if you've been driving for any length of time, I'm a better driver today than I was at 18. Just a better driver today, right? So it's the same thing. This is a commitment to your career, just like driving is a commitment to your life. I want to know to drive.
What is one advice that you would give to accountants who are into cash flow advisory?
Yeah, so the best advice I can give you is that every time somebody gives you a set of financial statements, you can see the problems instantly. You can see them. You're like, oh, they got this. I mean, it's like you're doing math in your head. I've talked to CPAs that are so smart, they're like a computer, and they can just see it. It's like code that just jumps in front of them and says, oh, this, and they say 10 problems. And then they'll go prepare a report that's 2 inches thick of all the problems that they solved for their client and thought that they did good work. I'm going to tell you to stop doing that. Not stop being smart, not stop doing the analysis, but stop presenting it in a way that makes you so smart and doing so much analysis, right? Here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to focus on the pain your client feels, not the pain that you see, right? Because you might think that I have an inventory problem, but I'm worried about something else entirely. Like I can't make payroll, or I don't have any customers. I need sales. Whatever that is. It's the pain the customer feels that's going to make you valuable, because you can get to the other ones, right? And back in my book, I teach you how to get to the other problems, but solve the pain they feel first, and then move to the next one they feel, then the next one they feel. It doesn't matter what you see, it's what they feel.
Okay. So all this we have just discussed about accountants, right? Coming to the business owner's perspective, like, can you give some pointers or some ideas to them, which they can try and looking at their own financials and that can make them thinking, oh, I never thought of this. If this is what he's saying and it is working, he would have much more. So let me go to him.
Yeah, so some people say, hey, you should cut expenses, right? If you're just looking at your own stuff, somebody says, oh, you got to cut expenses. Well, maybe. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? It goes back to the should versus could. How much should I be spending? How much could I be spending? But here's the rule. There's a rule I teach in the 7-minute conversation. There's 6 calculations in there, but there's one specific, and it's called expense control. And expense control, you probably heard people say that, but nobody's really quantified it. What does that mean? Here's a rule that will keep you in business. The change in operating expense should mirror the change in gross profit. Now, let me say that a little bit more simply. Gross profit is the most important number in your income statement. It is the only money you get to spend on your expenses and put in your pocket. That's it. You can't spend your sales, right? You can only spend gross profit. So if that's true, gross profit is the amount of money you have to spend. And what I said was the change in operating expense should mirror the change in gross profit. Operating expense is how you spend money. So if I have less money to spend, I should spend less money.
Yeah.
So if gross profit is down by $1,000 or $100,000, that's how much you cut in expenses. Gross profit comes down 100,000. I cut operating expense by 100,000, and believe it or not, you make the same money. It doesn't matter what you're selling, right? You can make the same money at any sales level. And I had a client that I used as a case study in the course that was selling $9 million a year, went down to $8 million a year, and was losing $100,000 a year in profit. We made that one change in gross profit, the change in operating expense, and he was back to making the same money at 9 million. He made the same money at 8 million that he did at 9 million, just by that one change, that one rule. If you violate that rule, your company will die. I will tell you that nobody can sustain it, right? Because if you start to spend more than you're bringing in, that's a loss. You're eventually going to run out of money, right? So that's what happens. If you see that happening, this is where the big boys, right? The large companies, this is where they make the decision to cut 7,000 jobs. You see the headlines. Pfizer cuts 7,000 jobs.
Yeah.
Meta cuts 10,000 jobs. You're like going, how did they come up with that number? Why 7,000 and not 10 or 11 or 50? Because the change in gross profit equaled about 7,000 people's jobs. So they can make the same profit. You remember the role of the manager in a public firm is to maximize shareholder value. How do they do that? With profit. So if profit comes down, they lose value. How do they make profit the same? They cut expenses so it's the same. That's where the 7,000 jobs come in. Do that in small business and you're going to run a great business.
Really interesting. Really interesting. Really love the conversations and the ideas that you shared, right? I would put all the links of your website, books, in the descriptions, and everyone can go through it. And thank you so much for joining with me, Mike.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And, best wishes for success for you.
Thank you.